この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。その拳は婚期を逃しその蹴りは独身を貫く。若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿はまさにフェニックス。みんな逃げるんだ。
Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese, and oh boy do we have a big catch for our anime line of the day. I don't think I need to tell you that, you just heard the clip. We've got like 4 sentences. 3 of them could qualify as just as difficult as any line that we've covered by itself. So today we are covering a line or a series of lines from the show Nourin, and this is going to translate to something like, she's one of those lonely beings said to appear whenever happy couples are formed in this world. Those hands let their chances of marriage slip away, and those legs push them through their single lives. Their bodies burn with the envy of the young, and even after countless rejections, they're able to rise up again. She's truly a phoenix. So this line right here, there's some context to it, as you can probably tell. We got a line that isn't too much of something that you would really hear in everyday conversation. There's some metaphors going on in here. Basically, the context is they're kind of making fun of their teacher who's getting along in her years, middle-aged. And then she does this comedic power-up to show them the presence of an adult, I suppose. And in this line here, they're kind of describing her in a kind of video game fashion, where they're describing her traits as kind of like intimidating features of a boss character or something, pretty much. So what we're gonna do now, we have 3 sizable lines. We have a vocabulary list that's pretty darn long. It's got more than 15 terms. We're gonna skim through the vocabulary real quick. We'll replay the clip to see if you can get a better sense of it after hearing the definitions of the words said, and then we'll go into the actual breakdown to really get an idea of what's going on here with the grammar and whatnot.
この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。その拳は婚期を逃しその蹴りは独身を貫く。若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿はまさにフェニックス。
First up, we have the word habikoru, which is going to translate to thrive or to prevail. Second word, verb word, arawareru, is going to mean to appear. Third is kokou, and this is going to translate to solitary or alone, independent. Fourth, sonzai, it's a pretty common word, existence or being. Kobushi, which is going to translate to fist. 6, konki, which is going to translate to basically chance at marriage. Literally, it translates to like period of marriage. In Japan, there's kind of a shared consciousness that people should pretty much get married in a certain time frame before they get too old, so this kind of just directly translates to chance at marriage, just as well as it would marriage, age of marriage, or whatever. Next up, we have the word nogasu, which is a verb that means basically to let slip away, to let get away. Next up, we have keri, which is going to translate to kick. After that, we have the word dokushin, which is going to translate to a single person or the single life in general. Next up, we have the verb tsuranuku, which is going to translate to stick to carry through with something, basically. After that, we have the word shitto, which is going to translate to jealousy or envy and not poop. After that, we have the noun honoo, which is going to translate to flame. After that, we have the verb kogasu, which means to burn, to scorch. After that, we have the verb furareru, which means basically to be rejected, to get dumped, something like that. Second, last, we have tachiagaru, which means to get up. And last but not least, we have sugata, a very common word that means appearance or figure. Okay, so we skimmed through the vocabulary list. I don't expect you to learn all of them that quickly, but let's just replay the clip to see if you can comprehend it any better. Then we'll jump into the actual analysis.
この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。その拳は婚期を逃しその蹴りは独身を貫く。若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿はまさにフェニックス。
Alright, so there's the clip. We're now going to jump into these lines. The first one is going to be the main one. Actually, it's probably the line that is most likely to be said in a normal conversation, I guess. The other ones are kind of too cartoonish or video game referential. So the first line is going to be この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在. This right here is going to translate to she. The she isn't stated explicitly, so she's implied because we're talking about a girl here. She's one of those lonely beings said to appear whenever happy couples are formed in this world.
この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。
So let's jump into the actual Japanese and break it down. First up, we have this phrasing kono yoni. This is a very common word that just means basically in this world. It's used, it's pretty literary, I would say. We have the word kaporu, which is going to be the katakana for couples. We have the particle ga, marking them as the subject because they're about to form an action or perform an action, I mean. Other than the verb word is going to be habikoru, which is basically to thrive or to prevail. We're going to naturalize that to like a couple is formed, kaporu ga habikoru. And so what we're going to do with that we have now, we're going to place the toki after it, and toki is going to mean basically time, when, or when. So when a couple is formed in this world. この世にカップルがはびこるとき。
この世にカップルがはびこるとき。
After that, we have the word kanarazuya. This is a kind of different version of kanarazu, but it means the same thing, basically like definitely, surely, certainly. And it's going to be modifying the verb right after it, which is arawareru, which means to appear. Right after that, we have this weird word showing up, toyu, which is a pretty darn hard thing to explain. Basically what it does is it adds this kind of nuance of such. So when it's used to modify a noun, which is what it's doing in this case, because we have a noun after it, and it basically describes that noun with the clause that's used before it. So the clause that we have is basically kanarazu ya arawareru, which is going to be surely appear. So kanarazu ya arawareru toyu kokou no sonzai. Kokou means solitary and sonzai means existence or being. So solitary being, independent being, lonely being. Toyu kokou no sonzai is going to be such a lonely being. Combine that with the kanarazu ya arawareru and basically turns into lonely being that surely appears. We gotta do some special wording when we turn this into our natural translation. So instead of using like such a being, we say it is said that. So one of those lonely beings said to appear. Let's look at the sentence holistically. この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在. She's one of those lonely beings said to appear whenever happy couples are formed in this world.
この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。
So the toyu there is already kind of making this line have a sense of literariness to it, I guess you would say, or you can already kind of feel how it's setting up that whole video game reference of like describing some mystical creature or boss character here with the toyu, making it like, oh, it is said that these beings exist or something like that. Now we're going to move on to the subsequent lines, and they're going to elevate that sense quite a bit. So our next line is going to be その拳は婚期を逃しその蹴りは独身を貫く。
その拳は婚期を逃しその蹴りは独身を貫く。
And this line kind of has a poetic structure to it too. Basically you're saying this thing is this and this thing is this. The first thing is going to be kobushi, which is fist, and the second thing is going to be keri. So it's kind of poetic, and you're saying their fists do this and their kicks do this. And you both have them with the sono. This is admittedly a pretty darn hard line to translate, so let's just break it down in order. So we have sono, which is of course the demonstrative adjective that means that or those. So those fists, sono kobushi wa. The wa there of course marks as the topic. Then we have a pretty normal direct object and verb here. Konki, which again means basically chance at marriage. Mark it as direct object and use a very common verb, nogasu, which means to let slip away. So konki o nogashi is basically to let chance at marriage slip away. It's conjugated into the stem form there, shi, because that is kind of a grammar pattern where you can connect a clause to another clause and basically just means and, or maybe just a comma, you don't even have to put and, because that would kind of be the more poetic translation, I guess you would say. So following that, again, sono for the continuity here, again, a kind of poetic nuance. The word after it is keri, which means kick or kick, so sono keri, marking this as the topic now as well. Dokushin, which means single life, marking that as the direct object. Then tsuranuku, which means to stick to carry out. So this line right here is like translating to those hands. We're gonna change the word fist to hands just because it makes more sense. Lets their chances of marriage slip away, and those legs, we're using legs here instead of kicks, push them through their single lives. So again, you can kind of see how this descriptor is, it kind of feels like they're describing some kind of mystical monster, like the wings of a dragon and the legs of a lion or something like that, right? But in this case, they're using it to describe the traits of hers that make her a very lonely person. So we had to do some tailoring for our natural translation. Hopefully that was understandable why though.
その拳は婚期を逃しその蹴りは独身を貫く
So now we're gonna move on into the next line. This is our last line that is actually quite bulky. So we have
若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿は
and this will translate to their bodies burned with envy for the young, and even after countless rejections, they're able to rise up again. So this is kind of a natural translation, as in we had to naturalize it and change the literalness from the Japanese, but now of course we're going to jump into the Japanese and break it down to see what it means literally first. So first up we have the word wakasa, which is going to be the adjective wakai, which means young, changed into a noun form. So we drop the e and add the sa, so it turns into youngness or youth right there. Eno is a combination of particles, the e as a directional particle and the no as starting a noun of a noun modification basically. It's being used with the second noun shitto, which means envy or jealousy. So wakasa eno shitto is going to be jealousy of the young basically. You can kind of see how the e there as this nuance of the jealousy being pointed in the direction of youth. We're then in turn going to plug that noun of a noun modification as the first noun in another noun of a noun modification with the second noun honoo, which is going to mean flames. So basically it'll be flames of jealousy for the young or of the young. Now we're going to in turn mark this thing with the particle ni. Then we're going to have this phrasing of mi o kogashi sutsu. Mi is basically just body, as in one's own body usually. We're going to mark it with the direct object o because it's going to receive the action of the verb that's about to come up, which is kogasu, which means to burn, to scorch. So basically scorching your own body with the flames of jealousy towards the young. Kogasu is going to be conjugated into a special form here. It's a grammar pattern here. We're taking the stem form of it and we're adding the phrasing sutsu, which means basically while. So it changes that, as opposed to burn, it's basically while burning or while scorching. So while scorching their bodies with the envy of the young, we'll just naturally turn that into their bodies burn with the envy of the young.
若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿は
Then we have the word nando, which just means basically however many times, no matter how many times. Our next verb word in our vocabulary list, furareru, which means to be rejected, to be dumped. It's going to be changed into the te form plus the particle mo, which is a grammar pattern as well. It means basically even if the verb, so even if they're dumped or rejected countless times. Then we have futatabi, which means basically again, once more, one more time. Our last vocabulary word, our last verb word in our vocabulary list, I believe, tachiagaru, which means to stand up, to get up, to rise. And we're going to have a weird kind of thing here where this clause right here with this verb, tachiagaru, is modifying the noun, but that noun is first going to be described with the sono, demonstrative adjective, so that, and the noun is sugata, which means appearance or figure, so that appearance. Then we just end this sentence basically with the particle wa, which basically is gonna be the same thing as like a ... in English. Like saying that thing is ... and it kind of adds dramatic effect. So literally, what is this line saying? Wakasa e no shitto no hono ni mi o kogashi sutsu nando furarete mo futatabi tachiagaru sono sugata wa. So while they burn their bodies with the flames of envy for the youth, even if they're rejected over and over, they get up one more time. Or not they get up, but that appearance or that figure that gets up every time ... So there's the dramatic effect there.
若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿は
Then we really clinch in this whole kind of video game-esque description of a boss character. We had the ... for dramatic effect, and now we say masani.
まさにフェニックス
And that's going to be, she's truly a phoenix. Masani is an adverb that means truly, or yeah, really truly. So like you do the ... for dramatic effect, and then you go, it's truly that monster, or that legendary thing, the phoenix. Whew, okay, that covers the whole description of this monster boss character. Let's provide our natural translation now. She's one of those lonely beings said to appear whenever happy couples are formed in this world. Those fists let their chances of marriage slip away, and those legs push them through their single lives. Their bodies burn with the envy of the young, and even after countless rejections, they're able to rise up again. She's truly a phoenix. このようにカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。その拳は婚期を逃し、その蹴りは独身を貫く。若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度も振られても再び立ち上がるその姿は、
この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。その拳は婚期を逃し、その蹴りは独身を貫く。若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿はまさにフェニックス。みんな逃げるんだ。
Alright, we did it. We covered the 4 lines, 3 of them pretty bulky, to learn what this description of the boss character was saying in Japanese. Let's just review the grammar patterns that we came across, because even if we can't repeat this word for word in real life conversation, we definitely did learn some grammar that can be applied in real life conversation. So first up, we had the grammar pattern that was toki, which just means basically when, or time, when blank, and the clause that is preceding it indicates what the time is. So in this case, kaporu ga habikoru toki is going to be time when couples thrive, or when a couple thrives. We had the toyu grammar pattern, which is tricky, a very complicated subject, and just don't think that the explanation I provided in this video was enough to master the meaning of that thing whenever it comes up, but it is very common, I'll say that, and important. But in this case, it kind of gave this line an effect of like such a thing. We had some noun of noun modifications. We had the she conjugation, which is basically just the stem of a verb word to connect it to another clause. We had turning an adjective into a noun with wakai turning into wakasa. We had a special noun of a noun modification that uses 2 particles, the e no instead of just no. Then we had the recursive noun of a noun modification, which isn't too different. We had the sutsu grammar conjugation, where you use the stem form of a verb plus sutsu to mean basically while doing that verb. We had the temo grammar pattern, which means like even if that verb happens, or even if the noun is the noun. Then we had basically a clause modifying a noun with the tachiagaru sono sugata. So yeah, that's a decent amount of grammar patterns there, and all of them, while this line in its entirety isn't something you would really say in real life, the grammar pattern is very realistically used in real life. And that first line in this whole line, series of line, is something that you could probably modify a bit to use it in real life.
この世にカップルがはびこるとき必ずや現れるという孤高の存在。その拳は婚期を逃し、その蹴りは独身を貫く。若さへの嫉妬の炎に身を焦がしつつ何度振られても再び立ち上がるその姿はまさにフェニックス。みんな逃げるんだ。
Alright, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Anime Line of the Day. Remember, if there were grammar patterns mentioned for this line, they'll be mentioned in the description or the pinned comment below with links to the individual lessons on them. You can also probably find them in the playlist of our complete grammar video series shown on the screen right here alongside our anime playlist. And last but not least, don't forget to try to translate the bonus line we provided. Leave your translation in a comment below. Check out our Patreon, like the video, and subscribe. With all that said and done, see you next time.